If you go and watch the match, when he and Bobby go over the top rope at the same time, his arm gets hooked under the bottom rope as he's taking the bump off the apron, tore his pec. I don't think he took a day off.
Wow. How do you keep it fresh? Same territory. Here we are, like 5 years, midnights, rock and rolls. What do you have to do to make something continue to work?
At that point, and I said I was going to get into the money, because of the previous contract discussions we had had with Herd, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane were making $2,250 a week. Tom Zink was making $3,000 a week. Jim Herd, and nothing against Tom Zink, I'd never had a crossword with him. He's a good-looking guy and a good athlete. He could work. I mean, he could have a match. He wasn't a star, wasn't never going to be a star. He didn't have it here or just whatever. He didn't have it.
Right.
But because Jim Herd paid guys who looked good versus people who could draw money and perform, it was an insult that Tom Zink was making $750 more a week than Bobby fucking Eaton, right? And Stan Lane. And so was a few other people making. Sid Vicious and Danny Spivey were making $2,500 a piece a week, more than Bobby. Point is, whereas everybody else was no-showing or selling an injury to get time off and get that mailbox money or griping and grumbling, the Midnight and the Rock and Roll felt the same way because they came in right after that list. I don't have them on that list, but I don't think they were making any more than the Midnight, maybe not quite as much, because they were brought in by Flair and Heard, wow, these guys are old news. And they do the big ratings. We channeled our animosity toward that raccoon skin capped motherfucker into going out and saying, okay, whatever we got to do, if we have to fucking, and I used to use this phrase, but now I hate to use it in wrestling, we have to light ourselves on fire, but now people do that, so I don't want to give that impression.
There was a time when that was ridiculous.
There was a time when that was ridiculous, and it was an exaggeration that you would use, but we decided we were going to go out, and no matter what we were, if we had, give us a goddamn crack in the fucking door, put us on national TV, give us a spot on pay-per-view, give us a promise, whatever, we're going to set the fucking building on fire, we're going to leave it in flames, and we're going to come back and say, follow that, motherfuckers, and they couldn't. And that was another case of it. The Rock and Roll and Midnight, there was a 4-star match, back before they gave 5, that was the 4-star match. That was, Meltzer even wrote, these guys were wrestling like their jobs depended on it. Our jobs didn't depend on it, but our pride did. And that's when I did the referee boxing with Nick Patrick, and the Rock and Roll pulled out all their old shed, and the Midnight with Double Team and whatever the fuck. But that was to basically show that, motherfucker, you may not pay us what we're worth. I was making a little more money because I guess I was on a committee, and also I was, Herd had given me, and we talked about this, I'm not going to chew my food twice on the whole 89 thing, buy the DVD. I was making $3,000 a week plus the $300 for the booking committee because Herd gave me, I wanted the same money as the boys like we always had, and I wanted all of us to make $150,000, but he stopped at like whatever $2,250 a week is for the boys, but I even said I'll accept $100,000 when his offer was $100. I said I'll accept $100, but the boys have to have $150 because they're taking the fucking bumps, right? Sure. Bobby's got a family. He wouldn't budge, but because I did commentary and did the hotline, he kept upping my offer every time he would up the boys' offer. So he gave me $50,000 that I didn't ask for. Anyway, that's how stupid he was. So we went out there to prove a point every single time. But here's the thing, even though the ratings were up, even though the talent level was up, they had done such damage, especially to the Carolinas. As soon as TBS bought the company, they pulled out most of the Carolinas' live dates. Greensboro for a pay-per-view only did $86,000. Which 2 years before that wouldn't even have been a good house show.
Yeah.
Greensboro, Starrcade, 86 did 360 whatever thousand. It did $86,000, and we got a $300 payoff and then got a $1,500 pay-per-view bonus, but this was all against our contract pay anyway. Nobody at that time was making more than their contract money because that, like, the next night we did TV taping in Beckley, West Virginia, we got $200. A taping in Altoona, which we'll get to in a second, $275. Fort Bragg, North Carolina did $42,000. They actually gave us $250. But Amarillo, we went to Amarillo for $22,000. The houses were horrible compared to what they had been until, TBS just screwed the whole thing up. So, we figured we'll prove a point. That's how we kept it fresh, because if Ricky had to if his arm had come out of the socket and ripped off and the bloody stump was hanging there, he would have finished the match.
Kept going.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.